Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, where we care about your mental health and well being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and I want to make sure that you tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I have my special guest on to talk about real issues that matter most. I want you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Business Facebook page, also on the Be Awesome Network. Stay tuned. I think you're going to really like this next guest.
Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice. It's a brand new week, the sun's shining bright, a chance to cast your net, step into the light. Life's full of challenges, it's a winding stream, but with Coach Rice, you'll find your dream.
Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and with me I have Eleanor Brown. She is a LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor, and she is going to embrace us with who she is and where she's from. So, Eleanor, tell us where you're from and how did you embark upon this journey of being a licensed counselor?
Ooh, both of those are very long answers. The short
Take your
answer
time.
is I am in Texas. I got here. This isn't where I'm originally from. Originally I was born in Illinois. Then I was raised in
Oh,
Kentucky, and then I landed in Texas. And this has been my home for 30 plus years, and I absolutely love it. I'm in a military town next to Fort Hood. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's I love the culture here. So there's
are
so
you
many.
in San Antonio, Texas?
Central Texas, so it
Central.
is about halfway between Waco and Austin. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I love the culture here. It's wonderful. It embraces people from all different walks of life, ages, and things like that. So I love that. Um, the How did I become an LPC? Oh, that was I had my own journey with mental health. It started very early. I didn't get out of childhood before I was already going through childhood trauma. And even with all of the things that I went through in my life, people were coming to me at a very early age, wanting me to help them with things. And it seemed like it was something that was always a connection. I was always helping people. I could
Okay.
hear things from people, and I could hear things that they couldn't. And I would say something so simple, and for them it would be profound. And I was like, huh, maybe. But there's not many in counseling, so I need to make a living, especially when through life circumstances I ended up with three children as a single mom. And so I became an electronics technician, and that's what I did for over 20 years. And
Mm.
that was fun. I like fixing things. Uh, but God kept calling me saying, this thing here, and it just kept coming back up that there were some things that I had dealt with in my life, and that I had eventually found some healing through counseling, through my faith. And he really wanted me to help women that had been through, not just women, but people that had been through what I'd been through, so that they could walk in freedom. Because, we can stay really bound up. And,
What a
there's,
blessing. That's a
yeah,
blessing.
yeah. So,
That's truly a blessing. And you felt the call, the pull.
yes. I tried to fight it for a long time. Oh, but I need to do, and oh, but no, I'm not smart enough. I don't speak well, all these things. And now he's called me to be a speaker on top of that. And I always struggled with the words that come out of my mouth don't make sense. And and now he wants me to be a speaker on top of being a counselor, and that's like mind-boggling.
Wow. How long have you been a counselor?
I have been fully licensed for almost 5 years. Of
Okay.
course, that process you start a good 4 or 5 years earlier, so about nine,
Right.
yeah, 8, 9 years.
8, 9 years. Okay. And so with your what are your like what is your base, your niche base
Hmm.
when it
Yes.
comes to like who do you find that you see most and who you more passionate about seeing?
Yeah. The people that I'm really passionate about helping are people that have really been through some type of childhood trauma. A lot of times that subset kind of come into my office, and I'm dealing with these relationships, relationship after relationship, and I don't understand why it keeps breaking or this. I kind of go off the reservation, and just the least littlest thing that will happen, and they don't understand that the things that happened to them in their childhood left a lasting impact. And when just opening that door and letting them see how childhood trauma impacts the way the brain is just developed. It's mind-boggling, and that in itself has a certain level of freedom. And those are I would say that that's my ideal client, somebody who's been through something and that doesn't even realize it is impacting them in their life now.
Right, because trauma is huge. I think that a lot of times people don't realize they're dealing with trauma, right?
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you can say to the audience, like, this is how you know you're dealing with trauma?
Right. Well, there's so many things that can be classified as childhood trauma, and some of that neglect is actually one of the biggest things. And that neglect isn't always because parents are bad. So my parents did the best that they could, and they both worked, and I had to take care of myself from sun up to sundown, or I had to take care of siblings. And then I grow up and I'm insecure financially. I struggle with, maybe I hoard, maybe I have anxiety whenever my wife talks about finding a new home, or I don't do well with change. I mean, like when I say don't do well with it, all of a sudden I go just completely. My reactions are way overreacted. Instead of being, okay, I don't really like that ideal, it's like, biting someone's head off. Those are just minuscule things that I see. Sometimes everybody hates me. I'm rejected by, my friend didn't call me back within an hour, and all of a sudden I've been rejected. And those kind of things, just little, what we consider little things, but
Right.
they're symptoms of something larger.
Yeah, because unresolved trauma can be detrimental to your growth.
Hmm.
Like you mentioned, it's funny that you mentioned that
Hmm.
you dealt with your own insecurities when you first
Uh-huh.
started.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it's funny because we all have, and we like,
Uh-huh.
who can I help? People are not going to listen to me. And,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
and those are the things that we deal with, right? Um, how did you overcome that becoming an LPC in your walk? How did you overcome that particular insecurity in your
Yeah.
life?
Right. One of the most pivotal moments, and I share this a lot with people in my circle, is there was a time where I was sharing with my husband that I really felt called, and we talked about this before, but I was at a point where I was ready to take that next step and actually start applying to graduate schools. But I looked at him and I said, who can I help though? Because I can't even finish my own sentences. It was a running joke that people in my family, it's like the words were there, but I couldn't quite get them out. And that's what trauma does. And we don't recognize that because trauma will steal your voice. And it's
Mm.
because that our brain doesn't make those connections when we want to speak. And my husband took my face in his hands, and he says, you can speak. People need to hear what's in your heart, because what you have to say is going to change lives. And that just
Oh,
broke something in my heart, that I was just like, okay, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it. And so I really started moving forward and taking the steps. I had to get into my own therapy. I'd been in therapy and in the faith community for a long time, and I needed a combination. And once I got that combination, things really started moving. And as I've walked this journey, I find myself more and more finding deeper levels of healing.
I like how he spoke to you and he held your face in his hand, which is
Yeah,
so powerful because he spoke to
absolutely.
you. He spoke directly to you, eye contact.
Yes,
He spoke life into you, which is
he did.
amazing.
He did.
And when you think about speaking of like the body
Mhm.
connection that
Mhm.
this, trauma often lives in our body, right?
Yeah, it does.
What strategies do you use to help clients reconnect with themselves and feel safe in their
Yeah.
bodies again? Because it does affect that.
Yeah. Psychoeducation is so important. The book, The Body Keeps the Score, heavy, heavy, heavy read. If you haven't read it, I recommend it totally. Uh, but it's a heavy read. One of the things that I really work with all of my clients on is this thing called polyvagal theory. And
Mhm.
it talks about how it talks about the fight or flight, freeze or fawn responses that we have. And these responses, when we are wired for chaos in childhood, let's say we've been through like sexual trauma or something like that, our bodies live in this on edge. And so we're hyper vigilant, and that becomes our default. And when that is our default, the world looks different than if safety and neutral is our default. So we don't connect well when we're in a fight or flight because we're constantly searching our environment to see if we're safe. So a lot of
Mhm.
attachment theory. So I talk a lot about attachment theory as well. I really want to start with helping people understand the nervous system and connecting to their body. Well, where do you notice that in your body? You know, I'm
Right.
anxious. What tells you? What tells you that you're anxious?
Wow.
Mm,
That's so key. And a lot of times we have to really pay attention to our bodies because they speak to us, right?
mhm.
And so
Yes.
once we're aware of those signs,
Mhm.
we can that kind of tells us that we need to pay attention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell my clients often, I want you to just, at any given point in the day, I want you to just stop what you're doing and I want you to do a body scan. What shows up in your body? And then, okay, I'm feeling a little knot in my stomach. Then just be curious about that. I really believe that mindfulness is that act of being present and just being connected to what's going on in our bodies and in our environment. Like really wholly grounded and connected. And if I can really connect to that piece, I can start to understand it better.
Now, since clients operate out of survival mode, especially
Absolutely.
when you're dealing with attachment disorder, the attachment styles, rather,
Mhm.
um, how do you guide them into coping with those, like
Mhm.
what strategies do you use in that area where they're in survival based mode coping mechanisms, and
Yeah.
how do you get them to move from that to the healthier patterns that they need to
Mhm.
actually utilize? Because you know
Yeah.
how
Uh-huh.
and especially when you deal with attachment styles, you
Uh-huh.
know how do you move them in that place where they can feel safe, from
Yeah.
survival to safety?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
If that makes
Well,
sense.
absolutely, it does. It, the first thing is we have to assess where they are. I mean, like really truly assess where they are. And for some people, they may still be in survival mode because of their environment. And it's hard to move somebody that's still in survival mode because of their environment, because of maybe the relationships that they're in. It's hard to move them into a sense of safety because their environment isn't safe. And so then we have to focus on the internal. How can I feel safe when the environment? And I've worked with clients to just try to normalize human behavior that just and pointing out just like little, so that sounds normalizing, and how would you speak to someone else, or using that language of how would you treat your friend to really help them realize, oh, I'm not really in a safe environment.
Right.
Sometimes we have to kind of see that, but I can't tell someone, it sounds like your husband is abusive or verbally abusive, or your
Right.
wife. I can't do that. All I can do is bring them into a healthier sense of awareness of what is healthy in healthy relationships. So the first step is really um, helping them understand what healthy is. What does healthy even look like? And that's a lot of psychoeducation in the beginning of therapy. And then
Yes.
a lot of regulating resources, whether that's learning how to breathe properly, learning
Hmm.
how to um, do things like trying to get proper sleep, exercise, nutrition. Those things are so important when it comes to mental health, because if I'm not eating properly, or if I'm not sleeping well, then I don't have full access to any kind of mental health reserve. So meaning that I may be hangry, and when I'm hangry, I'm going to lash out at people. So really trying to understand the foundations of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you're familiar with Maslow's
Yes.
hierarchy,
Yes. Yes.
right? But we really, if we don't have our basic needs of safety, security, food, water,
Right.
shelter, rest, those kind of things, if those aren't met, it's hard to move into the relational aspect, which is really that
Right.
attachment. So if I don't have anything safe in my life, how can I move toward a safe attachment? But I try to be that for my clients until they can find that in their environment.
Yeah, because we have to create a safe environment for them in the office where you are,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
while you treating them so that they can understand what's safe and what's not, you
Mhm.
know, and that's the environment you create for them. It's
Yeah.
and you hear about, belief systems are powerful.
Yes, they
So when
are.
it comes to like what type of false beliefs do you see most when you're dealing with trauma?
Uh, so if there were a thing that I'm most known for, it's shame. And I
Oh
talk about
God,
shame a
yes.
lot.
Let's
I
talk about
deal with
that.
shame a lot. I created a shame quiz so that people could understand how shame is impacting their life, because I've had clients that say, I don't even know what shame is. And I pull out this shame quiz and they score the highest points possible because they're just so used to it. I'm not enough. I'm dirty. I'm fundamentally flawed. The fundamentally flawed, that is something I did a research paper on when I was in college for victims of especially childhood
Mhm.
sexual abuse.
Yes.
Really deal with that fundamentally flawed, and that's a shame-based response. So I would say the thing that I deal with the most are shame-based negative beliefs.
That's a powerful belief system to break
It really
because
is.
if you can't break it,
Mhm. Yeah,
that they go inward, right?
absolutely.
And so that shame is so bad. It keeps us in bondage,
It really
you know,
does. It really
when we
does.
dealing with the yes. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so what are some of the sorry, my allergies are kicking
Uh-huh.
in really bad. But yeah, I like how you mentioned shame because a lot of times keeps us in bondage because it keeps us wanting to be hidden and isolated.
Yeah,
And I always say anything hidden can be healed.
right. Mhm.
What are some of the tools that you use to move them from out of shame?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to
Yeah.
pull them
It
out
really is.
if you don't have the right tools. What's some of the
Exactly.
tools that you use to do that?
Well, first of all, I think one of the reasons why shame is so difficult is because it impacts their identity. And anything
Yes.
that attacks our identity is it's going to be harder to separate ourselves from. Uh, Guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says I am something wrong. And it's hard to overcome that. The first thing with just about anything I do, the first thing I do, of course, is psychoeducation, trying to help the clients understand the difference between the two. And then I want to look at a lot of body-based stuff because shame is going to reside in the body. The body keeps the score. I do EMDR for clients when I feel like they're
Okay.
safe enough. Uh, for those that don't know, it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it's just really a somatic based type of intervention to help people uh, move out of that space, whether that's a shame based thinking or some other kind of um, negative belief system. But for shame, that really requires a lot of work, understanding. I do a lot of parts work and understanding how old is that part of you that's feeling
Yes.
that right now feel, and trying to uh, incorporate some like almost inner child work, maybe some of the ways that it's portrayed as. I do a lot of fragmented parts. So it's all parts work, trying to help clients understand what part of them is connecting to that belief system or that thought or that memory, and really trying to bring that part into adulthood. Because often it's a child part, like a 5-year old. How do you reason with a 5-year old? Well, you
Right.
give them a hug and you show them compassion, and you show them that, okay, things may have been really rough when I was 5 years old, and I may have been in some really precarious situations. And today I'm an adult and I can move into, and I can connect with my surroundings, that act of being mindful and really being connected to where I
Yes.
am, and so that I can have compassion for that child and embrace that child, even if that's what needs to be happen, and then bring that child into the present with me where I am today.
Awesome. So, what is your onboarding process
Mhm. Well,
for
I tend
clients?
to, yes, I have a 15-minute free consultation that I do with clients because I want to make sure that I have within the scope of practice. What they're dealing with is within my scope of practice.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that they would feel comfortable working with me. I'm a 100% telehealth, and some clients really want it in person. So I want to make sure that we understand the platform that I'm on. I want to make sure that whether it's private pay or insurance, we make sure that those things are as lined up as we can. If we
Right.
decide to move forward, then I will bring them in. We'll meet weekly, probably at first, kind of get to know one another, develop a treatment plan, and see. A lot of times when there's shame-based things, we don't find out about that right away. It takes
Right.
a little
It takes
while.
time to make them feel safe.
Exactly, exactly. So we really tried to start building that treatment plan as we go to help them get to a space where they are able to open up. Now, there are clients that come in that open up right away, very, one would say open borders.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes.
and so those are the ones that have that really anxious attachment, and that maybe just spill things out too quickly. And so I want to
Yes.
teach them, okay, you don't really even know who I am yet. Maybe you save some of that, and then we teach them about boundaries. That's such a big thing for people, relationships, attachment, boundaries. Those kind of things are so important. So we learn about that stuff early on.
That is so awesome. So, do you have any books or anything, that you have
Yeah,
exciting coming up?
yeah.
Tell us about it.
Uh, I have all the things. I have a podcast. It's called A Better Way to Heal, where faith meets therapy. And I have a co-host. She and I do the podcast because she read one of my books. She read my first book when it first came out. She's like, people have to hear this.
Oh, that's
And that
awesome.
book is based on Maslow's hierarchy and scripture, because it's called A Better Way to Heal, a better way, integrating faith and psychology to heal inner wounds. and it really looks at developmental trauma. I didn't know really that's what we were looking at. We put my life story in there, and then we put Maslow's, as a way of healing.
Hierarchy of needs.
Uh-huh. We put Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and also I wrote God's hierarchy of needs because God woke me up and told me the
Ah,
scripture to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so I call that God's hierarchy of needs. And so I did. And then when I looked at it, I was like, oh, developmental trauma, developmental trauma, developmental trauma. And so the second book is talks more about developmental trauma, and it's a companion guide for the first book, and it takes people on an 8-week journey of healing.
oh, nice. Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yes, yes. So those two books are definite labors of love. And then I have because so many people connect to me for shame, I am working on a shame book, but right now I have a shame workbook to help people overcome using the better framework that I developed. Um, So I've got that. And then I have, of course, the shame quiz and, just that kind of stuff. I write blogs because I just love giving people tools. And
Yes,
I've just started speaking. I just spoke at a women's conference not too long ago, and that was fun. And I do conferences occasionally to tell people about the book and the things that I really think that the things that we've been through leave a lasting impact, and we go around simply
yes.
surviving. And one of my tagline is moving people from simply surviving to thriving because I think it's so important.
That is very important. That
Yeah,
is so true because you could be in
uh,
survival mode for years and not even pay
absolutely.
attention and just
Absolutely.
being and not really thriving. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would definitely put all of your links into the interview and everything so people can find your books, find who where you are, and
Mhm.
so that they can actually utilize your services. Actually, that's awesome. In your podcast link as well, it's good to have all these resources because people need help, and
Mhm.
this is what they're looking for. So if you have one piece of advice you can give the audience, what would it be?
Uh, so there's a saying that hurt people hurt people,
Mhm.
and that's true, but free people free people. And I feel like when we know that there's something broken for the next generation, for the people that we love, we have a responsibility to ourselves and to the people that we love to get healing. It shouldn't be a passive, oh, I'll get healed if God's if he decides he wants to move this out of my way, then I'll uh-uh. We should be taking that ground back, and we should be walking into healing. That would be, if you know you need it, get it, period.
Great advice. Great advice.
Yeah.
So, Eleanor, I thank you so much for coming on my podcast today and for the information that you've given the audience. It has been a pleasure.
Oh, yes. Yes, for me
To
too. Oh my gosh, I love this.
and to the audience, I
Yeah.
am so grateful that you are listening. And if you feel like you know someone who's dealing with shame, trauma, or anything like that, please reach out to Eleanor. She's a great resource and share. Please subscribe and share to my channel. I always have amazing guests and
Mhm.
information for you to chew on. And especially nowadays, we really need each other. We need help, and we all have our own help that we get, and we need it. And that's why God put us on earth so we could be helpers one to another. So I just want to say thank you for listening, and please do comment and share. Let us know what you think about what you're hearing and what you hear more of, what you want to hear more of as well. So thank you for listening and have a happy Monday.
It's your time to shine. Your journey to chart. Coach Rice wisdom will heal every heart. So join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to Mondays with with Coach Rice.